So whenever I'm trying to think about what a great leader should do, I always come back to my captain of the ship story. I think this is a really important story, which I'm going to tell you now. So I want you to imagine that you're going on a cruise, quite a big ship, maybe 200 people. And as you come up the gangplank, the captain welcomes you by name to the ship. And he's welcoming everyone. He goes, Louise, good to see you. Miles, welcome to the cruise. Sally, great, come on in. And he knows the name of everybody on site as they approach his ship. And you think, that's amazing. How does he do that? Once you're on board, you have a look and you find that what he does is he looks at every passport and he memorises the face and the name of every passenger so that he can greet them personally because he cares about customer care. So you think, well, that's great. He's obviously a good captain. And you go down to your cabin. And when you get to your cabin, there's a little folded cardboard sign on your pillow. And it says, Dear Dave, or whatever, your bed was made for you personally by the captain because he cares about quality. And you think, well, that's a bit freaky. Does he make every bed on the ship? He can't have time for that. Has he made just mine? In which case, why? Has he chosen me at random? Does he like me? What's going on? So you kind of think that's a bit odd. And of course, the best way to ensure quality on the ship is not to make every bed yourself. It's to make sure there's a system for training the bed makers, which we'll come back to. So you'll begin to wonder, is he a good captain or not? He clearly cares about customer care and quality, but does that make him a good captain? So anyway, you try to put that out of your mind. You get changed, you go down to dinner. And your meal is served to you by a whole load of waiters in very smart black and white outfits. And then you think, hang on a minute, I recognise that waiter. And of course, it's the captain serving the soup. He likes to serve the soup every night because he likes to be in touch with the workers, in touch with his staff. And I don't mean workers in any derogatory way, by the way. I mean, they're great. They're the ones who do the work. So you're thinking, well, that's a bit weird. The captain's serving the soup. I mean, it's great that he's in touch with the workers, but who's steering the ship while the captain is serving my dinner? So after your meal, which is very delicious, by the way, you decide to find out who is steering the ship. Maybe it's being steered by a bed maker or a waiter. So on your way to the bridge, not very anatomically correct this, but anyway, you go past the engine room. And the door to the engine room is slightly ajar. And in the dark, and all the steam and noise of the engine room, just illuminated by the orange glow of the furnace, you can see a figure shoveling coal into the boiler. And of course, it's the captain, because the normal boiler stoker is off sick. And the captain, who used to be a champion boiler stoker himself, has said, no worries, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. So he's gone to stoke the boiler. So we're really worrying about who's steering the ship now. And even though the captain cares about customer care, cares about quality, he's in touch with the workers, he's got the biggest muscles on the ship from his boiler stoking activities, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Despite all these things, we're thinking he might not be a very good captain. Anyway, so you go on up to the bridge, and of course there's nobody there. And the ship is just drifting at random, and in fact there are icebergs dotted around, and the ship is heading towards one of the icebergs. So at this point you start thinking, oh no, I'm going to have to steer the ship, what do I do? So anyway, you take the wheel and you're about to turn the ship actually the wrong way when the captain comes running up from the boiler room, still a bit sweaty, and he grabs the wheel and he just manages to swerve the ship and avoid the iceberg. And he goes, that was a close one. Thought we were a goner then. Still, anyway, worked out fine in the end. That's the main thing. And then he says, God, I love this job. It's so exciting. There's never a dull moment. And what are you thinking? Because I'm thinking, he's not a very good captain. I don't want a captain who cares about quality, customer care, workers, biggest muscles, gets his hands dirty. All I want is a captain who's on the bridge, making sure everything's all right. I don't want him to actually do any of those things. I want him to delegate all that stuff. So a good boss is not somebody who's always running around doing things. It's somebody who's in control. I used to work for a boss once and he used to drive the forklift truck in the evenings sometimes. If a lorry needed loading, he'd get on the truck and help. And everyone thought he was great and he loved doing it. But actually, he was a rubbish boss. He should have been in his office thinking about next year's strategy or whatever. So the essence of management isn't to just do everybody else's jobs and become the highest paid waiter on the ship while the ship goes into an iceberg. The essence of management is to make sure that everything's being done, to build a machine of people that will do the job for you. Building a machine of people, I think that's what leadership's all about. And if you think about the areas the captain has to cover, it's people, systems and vision. So he's got to make sure that he's got the right people in the right jobs and they're motivated. He's got to make sure that the system works. There's a system for everything. So the bed making, is there a quality control system? Is everybody trained? Is there traceability? If there's a problem with a bed, can he trace it back to who made it and retrain them? So there should be a system for everything. And then there should be a vision for where the company's going. So people, systems and vision are the three things that the captain has got to do. And if he doesn't do those, then there'll be problems. So if the ship does run aground, it's the captain's fault. Now, what about if the captain has nipped into the toilet for 5 minutes and somebody else is steering and the ship runs aground? Who gets court-martialed? Can he blame the temporary person who's steering? The answer is no, because he chose that person and he put them in charge of steering while he was in the toilet. So the captain is always responsible, even when he's asleep, even when he's unconscious, ill for a week. He can't use that as an excuse, because he is supposed to have set up the systems and made sure he's got the right people. So he is actually responsible for everything on the ship. Everything's management's fault. So if the soup is a bit salty, that's the captain's fault. He can't blame the chef. He's supposed to have got a good chef. He's supposed to have checked on the chef by sampling the soup occasionally. If one bed is not made, it's the captain's fault, because he should have put a good manager in charge of the bed making, and he should have made sure that that manager has a system. So everything's management's fault, and everything is therefore the captain's fault. So in a way, he does nothing, because he stands around on the bridge saying, are the beds being made? Do we have a system for the beds? So in a way, that's all he does. But in another way, he's responsible for everything on the ship. Now, suppose he's got everything running really smoothly, and all the systems are running, the people are great, everything just works, which I think most ships are probably like. What happens if he's standing on the bed going, everything okay, and it all is, and a disgruntled bed maker who thinks, that captain, he gets paid loads and he does nothing, he just stands around on the bridge. The disgruntled bed maker pushes the captain off into the sea, and he falls into the sea and he drowns. What will happen? By the way, this is only pretend, don't worry. What will happen to the ship? And the answer is absolutely nothing to start with. People won't even notice that the captain isn't there. Perhaps after a few days they might think, haven't seen the captain for a while. But because they're good people, they're trained, they've got their systems, they actually don't need the captain anymore. So nothing will happen to start with. But of course we still do need the captain, because longer term we will miss the captain. Because what will happen in a few months' time is that the environment will change, and therefore we'll need new systems. And we'll need a different vision as well. And the environment could be our competitors, it could be our customers or whatever. But also the people will gradually become out of date. They'll become bored, they won't be motivated anymore, or the work they're required to do will change subtly. And so the arrangement of people constantly needs tinkering with to keep it as good as it can be. So we will start to notice that the captain is missing after a few weeks or a few months. So if you've got a boss who, when he or she goes on holiday, you think, well, I don't really miss them. That doesn't prove that they do nothing. It actually means they're a good boss. The place should run for a week or two without the boss. And I'm always amazed on training courses when it's just a one-day course and you've got people on the phone every interval, every coffee or tea break. Yeah, it's on the third shelf along. Yes, it's in the blue folder. Yeah, tell him he can have it. No, tell him he's got to pay an extra £5. And you just think, they can't do without that person for just a quarter of a day. And really, everything should run absolutely fine without that boss. He shouldn't need to be phoning back base the whole time. Now, we're going to come to delegation, look at it in more detail later. But it's absolutely key. I think the essence of a manager is somebody who has set everything up well so that it runs. Or somebody who's trying to set up all the systems and get all the people right so it will just run itself. That's what we want to see. So, people, systems and vision, a machine of people, that's the essence of what a leader is all about.